everybody, welcome back to Forza Horizon 4 with another Hillclimb. This is the December cars, every car added in December of 2018. Starting off with the Hudson Hornet D-Class, and it doesn't have much power, it's 160, but it has 260 torque, which is actually quite good. I was not expecting that. That being said, it is still from 1952, and it's not exactly fast at all. It struggles. And then there's the handling. The handling, well, you're not going very fast, but that still doesn't mean you're not getting, one tire fire, or just really painfully slow. And the gearing wasn't fantastic, because second gear ends at 41 miles an hour. But if you often end up about 38, so you can change gear, but you'll immediately have to change into 30, you might as well not even bother. So the gearing was quite peculiar, very peculiar in this car, and that meant it didn't really like the Hillclimb much. It was easy to drive, but it never really got above 65 miles an hour. I don't think it ever got above 65 miles an hour, even on the main straightaway. So, yeah, it did not like this course whatsoever. I mean, it is to be expected. It's from the 1950s, but yeah, it was not having such a good time. Which is a shame, because I love the Hudson Hornet. I love it as back from Forza 4. It wasn't even Horizon 1. It was last appearance in Forza 4. So the fact we have it back, that's pretty darn good. I like that. I like that a lot. But you can see the second gear just does not work here. It's pretty much useless second gear. So yeah, if the gearing was a bit better, if second gear was a bit more fitting there at the 45 miles an hour, it would be considerably better. But it is not. Also, I got very lucky with the traffic that they did not get in my way, because for whatever reason the D-Class traffic doesn't go very fast. Anyway, head into the final corner, and all we have left is a cross line. Our final D-Class car is the Triumph TR6 Pi. This wasn't the best at the mountain rally, but maybe it could do well in the D-Class car section of the leaderboard. And it has a lot of things going for it. It's rear-wheel drive, it's over 100 horsepower, I think. No, I think it's a little under, maybe 90. And it's very light. It's almost as light as the Civic, with more power and a better driveline. So it had the potential to be rather well. And, of course, I love me a classic roadster. So this one, I like it. It's just a little forgettable. It's a little forgettable. We already have 3 Triumph convertible roadsters. And we don't really, I say, need it. You just forget about it. When you have the other 2, why would you need this third one? But it is still a classic Triumph, and, well, it was still actually pretty good handling. I didn't have too many problems with it. No one tire fire for the diff. It was good diff. Decent amount of acceleration, especially for a D-Class car. Handling was sometimes a bit wonky, going around that corner especially. Dipped down to less than 50 miles an hour. But the acceleration was actually pretty good, getting to a whopping 62 miles an hour up that hill, which is faster than both the Hudson Hornets and the Civic. So it is also catching the big truck up there, but not as quickly. And as I better run, I let them have a little bit more space, if you will. Yeah, I like the Triumph. It's just a little forgettable. That's all. Only have a few more corners left to go. Heading up here. Once again, it gets up to some pretty decent speed for C-Class. Gearing wasn't too wonky on this one, thankfully. Second gear was pretty good. Third gear was good on the straights, so no real complaints there. One more corner left to go. Just the final straightaway. Yeah, not too shabby across the line. Our only C-Class car is this, a Lamborghini Jarma S. This must have been during Lamborghini's wonky phase, where they kind of said, what if we build really boxy, hideous cars, because this is not really a Lamborghini. It looks like a weird Citroen from the 70s, but there you go. It is actually, I like how it drives. I like the power band on it. I think the engine sounds pretty good, but it's not really a Lamborghini. It's not really a Lamborghini. It handles okay, has okay speed, but I mean, you can see here, I'm not going very fast, and I'm getting one tire fire and sliding. It's not my favorite car. It's interesting, don't get me wrong, it's interesting to see Lamborghini's, like, weird, awkward teenager phase, if you will, but it's not exactly I don't think it would be the #1 car on Lamborghini fans' list to be enforced. But I mean, it has some weird colors, like this, as bright green, has blue, has black, white, and bright orange was what I have, because when I saw bright orange as a manufacturer color, I said yes. I do run a little wide. It got a bit of understeer in high-speed cornering, but it does at least crack 70 miles an hour on the course, which is good. Yeah, it just wasn't handling as nicely as I wanted it to. It just feels a little wallowy, if you get it. It's just a little shaky. Doesn't turn as well as I hoped it would. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it is still a Lamborghini. I do still like some Lambos. Yeah. I'm interested to see what engine swap can have in this. If we can have the 6.5 liter V12 in this, oh, that'll be some fun. I would expect us to, but you never know. But if we can, oh, that'll be some real fun. Heading around the final corner for the Jarma S. And then one more straightaway to go, and across the line. Now this is the first of the two B-Class cars, and it's also the Honda that I was talking about earlier, and how there's literally no reason for it to exist in this game. We already have the S2000, the Club Sport from America, which is, I like that car. I have always said the Honda S2000 is the only car to rival the MX-5. But this one here is just a slower, tuned down version of the one that we already had. On the plus side, it does have a wide body kit, which I can't install in here because every vehicle must be run stock. So it doesn't look as good as the 2009 version. It doesn't handle as good, it's not as fast. So why put it in? This is the only car of December that I actually think should have been replaced with a better version. Everything else I can understand. They might have their own little niche fan groups, but a S2000 that we already have, but is slower, doesn't make much sense. So, yeah, and the rev range is okay, but we all know that S2000s really need high revs, and this thing does not get high revs very often. Yeah, also I ran a tad bit wide. It shouldn't have affected the time so much, but I did keep it on the track, so I kept going. Maybe I lost 1/10 of a second on that flip with the wall, but other than that, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Plus side, though, it was actually okayly fast for a B-Class car, getting up to almost 80 miles an hour on this uphill run. Actually, it did get up to exactly 80 miles an hour on this uphill run. Ran a little bit deep, but that gives me a late apex, which can let me carry more speed through here. And then we have one more hairpin to go. This one's a bit tricky for this car, doesn't like it, and then we can get on the power, a little bit of sideways action across the line. Now this is the B-Class car that I've been waiting for a very long time, ever since I saw it on their Coming Soon trailer. This is the DS3 Racing. I like this car a lot. Hasn't been in since Horizon 1, and ever since I've been sad that it hasn't came back, but here it is, a Citroen DS3 Racing. It's basically the, Lingenfelter, or M Division of, it's an aftermarket tuner, I should say, not really M Division, aftermarket tuner system for Citroen. And I love it. It's mad. It's got orange and black and orange rims and racing liveries, and I love it. It is front-wheel drive, so it's not ideal, but the handling is actually very good. It's by far one of the best handling front-wheel drive cars we have had. And I love it immensely. It's not quite up there with the Honda Civic in terms of front-wheel drive handling, just because this is from 2011, but it was absolutely astonishing. I love it immensely. And you can almost go fly out to that corner, not quite though, ran a little wide, didn't cost us too much time. Sometimes the gearing was a little bit messed up, but most of the time it was pretty good. Didn't have too many problems with front-wheel drive or understeer. It was very fast up that hill as well, 80 miles an hour. That's as fast as the Civic. With the S2000, but with a worse driveline and slightly less power. So that just shows how much handling this car has. It really is very good around the corners. Brakes are average. They're slightly above average, I would say. But really, the handling is where this place shines. I love how this car drives. I've never been a big fan of front-wheel drive cars, but this Citroen is actually fantastic. And you can see it's a pretty respectable time for a B-Class front-wheel drive car. One more corner to go, just to run to the line and across the line. Now this is the first S1 class car of the day, the Morgan Aero GT, basically a convertible Morgan, and we start off with an AI stuck on a wall. So just ignore them. That didn't happen. Yeah, I'm actually surprised this is an S1 class because it's a convertible, so it's heavier. It's got less than 400 horsepower, and it's made of wood. So how can it be good, right? Well, the handling is actually respectable in this car. You would think since it's made out of wood and is, well, a convertible which means it needs heavier weight in order to meet requirements, that it would be terrible, but it's not. It's actually rather good. And as a result, it does pretty respectable for the very bottom of S1 class, being less than 815. I think it's 811, this PI rating, so it's not exactly what we would call a fast S1 class car. And yet, I think it's absolutely brilliant. Again, it comes in this bright orange, which, come on, as a manufacturer color, you have to go for that. And it's made of wood, and it's a convertible, and you would never expect it in a million years to be decent. And it is. I like how this car drives. I think it's a good driving car. I think it's a very good driving car. Carries some good corner speed, 48 miles an hour with a bit of an oversteer to it, but I'm able to recover it with ease. It is a little bit slidey on the dirt. Sometimes I run a little too close to there, but there you go. We do reach 102 miles an hour and just about get it stopped. I might have pushed it a little hard in the braking zone. I had to panic and shove it in the first gear to lock it up. But I managed to get it stopped. Just about. Yeah, that was a little close. But we have one more corner to go with this surprisingly impressive run for the convertible, wooden convertible. And we are across the line with a slide. We go from a tiny, lightweight Morgan to, well, not a tiny, lightweight Morgan. This is the DeBerti Silverado. It's supposed to be a drift truck, basically. Has 1,000 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, and is ultra-stripped-out lightweight. It's mental, and yet surprisingly drivable. Surprisingly drivable. We put the DeBerti Mustang up here. That has 725 horsepower and massive tires. This has even more power, and it has a very interesting fan system. But it is very quick. That's like hypercar speeds on that straight, 130 miles an hour. We always saw that with the likes of the Koenigsegg's and the Ferrari FXX. That's seriously impressive. And then there's the handling. Yeah, you have to be very careful with the throttle. You can see here I can't get on the power very much, especially in first gear. But once you get into, if you can get the car into third gear, it's actually drivable. It's actually sensible. It's not a completely oversteery vehicle. You can easily make it slide, but you can also easily make it drivable. And we're not going to see the same lap time as the Huda truck. That just isn't going to happen. That's all-wheel drive with only 100 horsepower less. It's going to be way faster. But for a rear-wheel drive pickup truck with 1,000 horsepower, I really liked how it drove. I thought it was very good handling. And you can see, we're not quite up to the same speeds just because you can't put that power down. You have to use throttle management so much. Otherwise you just start sliding, so you have to be really careful, and that's why you don't quite get up to the same ludicrous speeds. You can see I'm beginning to push it now in these last few corners. Just one more hairpin left. You gotta be really careful in the throttle, but you can catapult it up to speed. I'm leaving second gear. Nah, maybe not. One more corner to go, and we are across the line. This continues with our Chevrolet section. The ZL1 1LE. Absolutely mentally best muscle car in the world right now. By far. It's basically a Corvette Z06 in a Camaro body. 650 horsepower, 650 torque. Rear-wheel drive, and unlike the 2013 GT500 or the Hellcat, it can actually turn and brake. It's incredible. It is the best muscle car in the world right now. It has great turn-in, has very good traction, that's flat out. With a 650 horsepower rear-wheel drive car, I was flat out of that corner. That's impressive. That's seriously impressive. And yeah, you get a little bit sliding here, but I mean, you would expect that from a crazy, Larry oversteering muscle car, but it just doesn't happen. It just says, I shall grip to the road, and you can do nothing about it. It's incredible. I love it. And then there's the sheer power that's able to catapult up to some pretty decent speeds. This is midway through S1 class, remember. This is a muscle car midway through S1 class. It's ridiculous. I love it. It's a very fast car, and it comes in blue. Blue and yellow are just the universal colors that fit on every single car, I think. I don't think there's a single car on Earth that would look bad in blue or yellow. And I love how it drives. I love how it drives, I love how it handles, I love how it sounds. It is a brilliant car, and probably one of my favorite cars added to Forza in a very long time as we go across the line. We have a pretty big jump in PI to over halfway through S1 class with the Ferrari GT4 Lucio, which is pretty good. I mean, it's all-wheel drive with a few all-wheel drive Ferraris. It's basically, I think it's a special edition FF, which, having seen the FF a few times, I still don't like the look of it. It's not really a Ferrari. It's kind of just a car with a Ferrari badge on it. It is very fast, though. I think it's got a V12, and since it's all-wheel drive, you can actually put that power down fairly easily. Handling isn't too bad. It is a Ferrari after all, but it's not like Enzo or 458 levels, especially. You can see it's sliding around with brakes. It's a little bit understeery. Have to wait, get on the throttle. There we go. Now I can get it going. Second gear was the place to be with this car. It was nice gearing for this Hillclimb. It just didn't feel like a Ferrari. Actually, you got a little too much understeer. It wasn't as drivable as I would have liked, shall I say. Ooh. It just... It's an interesting car. It's an interesting special edition of the FF. And it is quite quick, over 105 miles an hour. Amusingly, despite having 680 horsepower and all-wheel drive, it is only 3 miles an hour faster than the wooden rear-wheel drive Morgan. So, there you go. And it's just very, very good. These hairpins, these final two hairpins, I really liked the car. The rest of the track, it was mediocre, but these two hairpins, I quite liked it before he slid across the line. The Corvette C8, the Nora, is getting closer to production now. But before they sent off the C7, they wanted to make a special tribute. The ZR1. We had the Z06, that was a brilliant car, but the ZR1 turns that up to 11. It is 755 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, front engine, brilliance. They took a already great car and made it even better. It is a brilliant car to drive. It is one of the better handling American cars of all time. Not quite as good as the Ford GT or the ACR Viper, but it is certainly up there. And if you wanted to send a tribute to your front engine Corvettes, I mean, this is pretty much your pinnacle right here. It's faster than the Europeans. It's cheaper. It's less than 130 grand. I think it's 140 grand this car. All upgrades attached, which is pretty darn good considering the Ferrari is 250, the Lambo's 400, and it's able to rival them. That's pretty darn impressive. This thing, near the top of S1 class. 895 from standard. It goes over 200 miles an hour with that wing on the back. It is incredible. And although I would prefer the Corvette to stay front engine just because that way it stays more American, the times have to change. And if that means giving us this final send-off, I'm all for it, as they go across the line. However, this can only be our fastest car. The Mosler MT900S, designed by the Corvette guy, funnily enough, which means the back end of the car is clearly a original design and not stolen from a Chevy in any way, shape, or form. And I know this is going to be fast. It only has 570 horsepower, but it weighs less than 2,500 pounds and is on racing slicks to begin with. It's fast. This was not the only car that could challenge the Ferrari FXX. This is an S2 class, midway through S2 class, and it is fast. 139 miles an hour through there. It can carry 60 miles an hour through that hairpin. 60 miles an hour through a hairpin is ridiculous. Then we have the switchback, which goes up to 70, almost over 80 miles an hour through the switchback, which is ridiculous as well. Then we go around here, almost 90 miles an hour. Then you get on the brakes, 60 miles an hour. Just the corner speed is absolutely incredible. And this is in its stock, guys. This can get over 1,300 horsepower in this car. That is incredible. And then 103 miles an hour up the hill. It just redefines the sense of speed. I love it. I have two. They gifted me one, and then I completed the challenge for one. It's maxed out, and it is an absolute beast. If you have not gotten this car, I highly recommend you do so. It is unbelievably fast. And it's from 2011. I love it. It may not look very pretty, and it may be some copyright issues with the back end, but the sheer speed is unreal as they go across the line. And indeed, the Mosler does claim a first place with a 130.1. That is 0.3 of a second faster than the Ferrari FXX. Next up is pretty impressive showings from all of the Chevrolets, with the ZR1 getting 11th and the Camaro getting 14th with a 137 and a 138, respectively. Interestingly enough, neither one of them faster than the S5S Raptor from Saleen. Then we have the Morgan Arrow doing a respectable 19th place, 142, sorry. I don't know why I said 6, 142.7. Good showing from that, keeping in the top 20 for being a wooden convertible. The Citroen DS3, that is in 34th place, the fastest of the front-wheel drive cars, with a 156.4, beating out the S2000 by 4 seconds. Yeah, it's a very good handling car, because the S2000 has a better driveline and more power, but it gets annihilated in the corners. And then the Lamborghini Giamma, that is in 38th place, just shy of the sub 2 minute 5 barrier, 205.8. The Triumph Pi does a 41st, followed by the Civic in 42nd, and the Hudson in 43rd. All of them under 225, except for the Hudson doing a 225.2. So, yeah, it had a high scoring round and a very low scoring round at the same time. There were some cars that broke records and were in the top 20, and then there were cars that were not in the top 20. So, yeah. Let's see what January has to bring, shall we? And that's going to be it for this episode. I'll be back with more.